How about we do just a tiny little review of yesterday? Just a tiny little review of yesterday. So success yesterday was not having anything break, number one. Success yesterday was flattening your sails. I mean, did you have enough power yesterday? Flattening your sails. So what's the number one string? Outhaul. Number two, Cunningham. Number three, and this is no particular order, backstay. Getting the sails flat so the boat, when you sail a boat in heavy air, this is really cool. Try to remember this. You want the boat to find its own way through the waves. The boat is way smarter than you are, no offense. Way smarter. Get the boat balanced such that if you let it go, it would, for the most part, find its way through 70% of the waves. Okay, it'll get it wrong every now and then. You've got to give it a tiny bit of help. But that's all you should have to give it. The boat has to find its way up, over, and around. So that's a balance question. Am I too zen for you here?
No.
Okay. So how do you get that balance? Well, obviously tight backstay, tight Cunningham, tight outhaul, tight jib halyard, jib lead back a little bit. So now we've set the stage. Now it's about how much tension we put on the sheets. If we overturn the main, the boat's going to want to go into the wind all the time. And I know that sounds obvious. Less main sheet trim, a little more jib sheet trim. There's some boats that you have to overtrim the jib a tickle for the boat to find its way through the waves, like a Melgus 32 and Etchells in 12 knots. Any number of boats have that characteristic where the boat will find its way through the water, and you have to fiddle with it. And what I was saying earlier, the fiddle part sounds kind of loose, but most of us have ratchet blocks on the main sheet, and when you pull a main sheet through the ratchet, it goes click, 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 click. That's actually not a ratchet block, it's a tape measure. Trim it 2 clicks, trim it 1 click. In other words, I'm saying when you trim, you look at the speed, did it build? Yes, trim it a little more. Okay, stop building, ease at that amount that you trim. See what I mean by the block is your tape measure? And the same thing goes for the jib. And the goal is that the boat finds its own way, even in a big breeze. Yesterday was really cool. I watched the J29s, and there was one boat that, I think they won 2 races. Okay, they're a bunch of fat pigs. This is the pot and the kettle, of course. But those guys, you watch them go up, and it looked like it was blowing 12. Honest to goodness. They were settled in, they were calm, their boat was just kind of going like this. And I watched Michael O'Connor, not to give him too much credit, but I watched him steer the boat, and here it is. Like that. The boat was finding its own way through the water, and which means that they had the sails trimmed such that the boat had a nice balance, and it found its own way through. And yesterday, if you had the boat set up like that, I mean, it was truly a cakewalk for the J29s. Now, we've tortured them in any number of regattas in a lot of air, so they've had opportunity to learn this. But all they've learned is let the boat find its own way through the waves, and that's the balance question. Having more weight on the rail, well, that's obvious.
Twist on the jib. You want to open up the twist the jib. You put the lead forward to do that.
The other way around. Back. Lead back. One of the things that I like to do is I like to have a mark on my spreader, and it's the tape measure concept, and I like to reference the distance from the spreader tip to the jib leach. Okay, and that's a number. That should be 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 6 inches, 1 inch, inch and a half. It's quite picky. And you have to, every condition has a location for the jib leach in relation to the spreader or top spreader. And that's, once you learned that and found it, and you know that in 20 knots the boat will find its own way with the distance at, call it 6 inches, then you go, okay, I want a 6-inch distance from the spreader tip to the leach of the sail. On some boats we have a little sonic, you know those Polaroid cameras, well, all cameras, I guess. You push the button and the camera goes ding, ding, right? It sends a little beam back and forth. Well, we used to use sonic beams, and we took it out of the Polaroid camera, mounted it on the side of the mast, and it would shoot the distance. We had a little digital readout. It was great. We didn't like saltwater, but they were cheap. The point being that the distance the relationship of the jib leach to the spreader, whether it's boat with swept-back spreaders and jib leach inside, you can make a mark on the spreader. That distance is a critical number for any given wind speed, for any given head sail. And the only goal is find your own way through the water.
Andreas, to add to that, can you talk about sailing by heel when